Welcome everybody again. Here, this is episode number 7 of Social Dreaming Talks. Today we are here with Dr.Leslee Brown, who's connecting from LA. So we are spanning one ocean and one continent in different time zone. And we are here to speak with her because she's been involved with social dreaming. She's been using it in different settings. And I'm gonna introduce a little bit this talk. This is, as I said, number 7, and with social dreaming talks, we get together with people that practice social dreaming, research social dreaming, and use it for different goals. And the idea is to learn more about social dreaming, and as well to document some of these discussion for later use, because we think there's going to be there's an importance in opening a conversation about the development of social dreaming and the uses that are happening all over the world, because it's becoming a global phenomenon, also thanks to the pandemics in a way. And yes, I will pass the microphone now to Kalina, as she usually introduces our guest. And I will be in the background checking the YouTube channel. If you want to leave a question for Leslie or a comment, feel free to write in the live chat, and I will pick it up and refer it. We're going to have a final moment. The last 20 minutes maybe of the conversation are going to be a Q&A with our guests. So feel free to ask anything.
Thank you, Fabio, and hello to our viewers. These are really exploratory talks. I was listening to you and thinking we have actually been able to discover and identify quite a number of applications of social dreamings and adaptations and different contexts in which it has been used. It's much more than what we expected when we actually set out and decided to have these talks about social dreaming and to learn a little bit more about it. I'm really delighted to introduce our guest today. Dr. Brown is a founder and director of Mind Body Passport Incorporated, which curates extraordinary international seminars. She will probably say a little bit more in the talk, and also online learning experiences, certificate programs, professional development courses, and she's an approved provider of continuing education credits. Mind Body Passport programs are for adults, mental health professionals, graduate students, and in fact, anyone interested in extraordinary experiences related to psychology. Some of the international partners of the organization include Jung Institute, Zürich, the Freud Museum, London, and the Tavistock Center, London, UK as well. So Dr. Brown is passionate about multidisciplinary learning, and her interests include psychology, culture, the arts, psychoanalysis, and social dreaming. She has been hosting social dreaming with international groups online and in person since 2011. The method allows the group to share openly and free associate. Dr. Brown has been in private practice for over 20 years. She served as director of international seminars and guest professor at Sigmund Freud University, Vienna. She has been a research psychologist for the Neurologic Institute and has served on the faculty of UCLA Medical School teaching psychology and rapport building techniques to medical students. She is also an assistant professor at the Chicago School and director of Centers for International Studies.
Good morning, Kalina. Wow, it sounds like I've done a lot.
You have done a lot.
When you hear it out loud, it's like.
Yeah, you have done a lot, and you.
Well, thank you for the intro.
You have been engaged with social dreaming for what is it, 10 years now?
About 10 years, yes.
Would you like to tell us a little bit more how you first got interested in social dreaming?
Sure.
Where did your journey start?
Oh gosh, my journey started on social dreaming. It probably started around 2008, 2009, 2010 in there. I had actually heard of it, but didn't know a lot about it. And I was working for a few universities, Sigmund Freud University in Vienna and the Chicago School in the United States. And I developed the first study abroad programs for doctoral students. And I started bringing groups around the world studying various different topics in psychology and culture and different things related. And I would choose locations that sort of met and matched with whatever the topic was. So while I was working in Vienna, I was trained by a colleague of mine there who actually trained with the Tavistock in London on social dreaming. So my training was not at the university. It was with a colleague who mentored me. And really, it was true to the analytic tradition. It was learning while you are working. Way back in the day, there weren't formal programs to study psychoanalysis to learn to be an analyst. You would go into analysis with Freud or Jung or any of the greats. And after a few years, then you could basically hang your shingle out and practice psychoanalysis also. So I really learned in the old way of teaching while on the job. And it was fascinating. One of my first experiences leading or co-leading a group was in Vienna. It was a seminar on dreams. And we did a field trip up to a place called Am Himmel, which is a hilltop above Vienna, past the woods, this gorgeous place that Sigmund Freud used to like to go every summer. There was a hotel there that had since burnt down, but we went up there and we had a wonderful, glorious picnic. And we started reading different dreams from Freud's interpretation of dreams. One of his famous dreams, Irma's injection, was dreamt in that spot. And then we had our opening session of social dreaming. And it was very free flowing. It was out in this beautiful field on a hilltop overlooking the city of Vienna, and it was pure magic. And then every morning since, for the 2 weeks we were there doing our dream seminars, we met every morning, 9 a.m. It was the first thing we did every day. And you could see the different themes developing and themes about the group and family. And when people travel, Kalina, they really have vivid dreams. Maybe you're in a different time zone and your sleep is disrupted, but lots of really powerful dreams. So it was truly extraordinary. And that was sort of my first, deep dive into social dreaming with groups and running them. And now what I do, you mentioned in your lovely intro of me, I take groups. Well, before the pandemic, I was taking a lot of groups around the world to different locations. And every morning we meet and have social dreaming. And it's astonishing how the themes of what our study is, what our theme of the seminar is, starts having a parallel process, and we can see it running through the dreams as well that we're having every morning. And for me, it's been this amazing way to connect people and connect the group and instantly form this bond. And throughout the day, we might see something or hear something, and someone will say, "Oh my goodness, Did you notice that? That was the symbol of your dream about blah, blah, blah. And so these things start coming together and interweaving in this really powerful and deep way and meaningful for people. So what ended up happening over the years is people would come from all different parts of the world, and we wanted to stay in touch. And people would say, oh, you know, Dr. Brown, Leslie, why don't you do social dreaming online? So that, for example, you in the UK and me in Los Angeles and someone in Paris and Bali and India and wherever, we can all meet online and continue our social dreaming group. And it was always the plan to do that, but as we all are busy in life, you know, it kind of it kept getting pushed to the bottom of the ever-growing list, right, of things to do and stuff to take care of. So when the pandemic started and we went into lockdown, I thought, this is the perfect time. We're all starved for that human interaction and connection. So I started doing the social dreaming online, and I've documented the first year of doing it. I have a second group running now. We meet the first Sunday of every month. It started as an hour-and-a-half group, and I would do a short lecture discussion first on what social dreaming is, what it's not, you know, what the tasks, the primary tasks of the group, et cetera, are, and how the structure works. And then I would ask people at that point to pop their microphones and their video cameras off, because as you know, Kalina, but maybe your audience doesn't, part of social dreaming is you set people up in chairs in this sort of random snowflake design where nobody's gazing directly as we are into each other's face. And there's a lot of, you know, reasons for that. So I asked them to pop the camera off at that point, and then we're sort of in our own little cocoon. But for me, it was this phenomenal shift of how I was even more hyper-focused on the dreams and what people were saying, because I didn't have the distraction of like looking out the window or my dog sitting on the chair over there, or I can hear the gardener, you know, outside the window, or whatever it is that, it was just this great connected experience. And it was people from all over the world. And we got into different aspects of, you know, one of the themes was about spiders. And I think when we talked in our preliminary discussions, I told you that there were sort of some preemptive, or what's the word I'm looking for? Some clues as to what was going to come in the future. And I know that sounds a little woo psychic, but there is some proof to it. We talked before about this book, you know, the discovery of social dreaming was from this amazing book that was written by a journalist from Germany, from Berlin. Her name was Charlotte Barrett, and it was written in the early 30s, The Rise of Nazi Socialism and the Nazi Party. And she collected these dreams, and she disguised like the names of the people in the dreams, because Hitler and Goring and all these lead people in the Nazi Party were showing up in the dreams, and she wanted to protect them. So she hid them everywhere, sent them off to groups. And what it showed was that people were denying what was going on in their political and social reality, but there was no denying it in the dreams, and how the dreams showed, you know, the themes of what happened in their dreams. So if I can, I just wanted to share a couple dreams that happened. And I know I'm in the United States, but a lot of the members of my social dreaming were not in the US, but we had a series of dreams that I feel like was really prophetic during the time. And interestingly enough, it was the Sunday right before the January 6th attack on our Capitol, the insurrection that happened. Would you like me to share a couple of the dreams with you? Of course, it was with permission of the group.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. But I just want to ask you something, because it's really, it's really interesting, and thinking about, it's not this, as you say, mystical experience of dreams predicting, but maybe dreams tell us something that we ignore. We turn a blind eye, as you rightly pointed out. Deny, something that we deny in our waking life because it's too painful, too frightening, or whatever. It comes back in the dreams, and only if we can make sense and use that data. So yes, but something which struck me, you said you started with that project in Vienna, and reading Freud's dreams, the Irma injection, the famous Irma injection. And I found myself thinking, but there's sort of tension between psychoanalysis or psychoanalysts and social dreaming, because psychoanalysis says dreams have meaning only to individual dreamers, right? So they can have multiple meanings and so on. And social dreamers, social dreaming practitioners, make sure that they point out these are not individual. They no longer have individual meaning. They belong to the matrix.
Which is difficult for people to understand.
Which is quite difficult, yes. And there you are. You were trying then at the beginning to make this bridge between Freud's individual dream and the social dreaming. Why? Do you have any memory why you were doing? Was it just a spontaneous thing, or what was the?
It started as a spontaneous thing, and connecting this place, this historic place we were with this particular dream. But there was something in the act of, even though it wasn't my dream or the group's dream at the time, there was something in the act of reading out loud, which actually has a basis in psychoanalysis and psychotherapy. Analysts always write out and read aloud their case studies, the dreams of a patient or something. So there was something in the act of that. And then we started to free associate to Irma's injection, which then led us to our own dreams and our own associations to that. So it started it off in a really beautiful way that I hadn't planned in that way, but I love how it turned out. And I would absolutely, yeah, I would absolutely
associating to Irma's injection. Okay.
Yeah, as if Irma's injection was our group dream. We all knew that it was Freud's dream, but it was like we were in this historic place of Freud, and okay, let's associate that. And then other dreams came up. And I find, I don't know about you, Kalina, but I find that the idea of social dreaming, because, in psychoanalysis, like you said, it's about our individual dream and in the context of our own life. But is it really? Doesn't it also have a particular essence of what's happening in the world around us? Just my thoughts on that. And also for me, being psychoanalytically, that's my background, psychoanalysis. I also look towards Carl Jung, and that there are collective elements, archetypes, and symbols within dreams, which make it the perfect forum to relinquish your own dream as my property. And now it's the dream of the group. It sort of opens people up to a freedom, is what they report to me, that they never had before. That at first it's, who are these strangers that I'm opening up to this dream about sex or violence or aggression or something? We have crazy dreams, right? And then when they realize that nobody sees them and nobody's really listening to know, oh, that was Leslie's dream, or oh, that was Kalina's dream, it becomes our dream. So it's a shift that takes place. Yeah.
Very interesting. Thank you. Please tell us about.
Okay. So the
dreams.
Sunday before the January 6, 2021 insurrection, it started off with a long silence, which was particularly unusual for this group because yes, there were silences, and silence is normal in a group and this type of group, but it started with a silence that was very heavy. And then someone said, they were talking about, I've moved back to X. I've decided to go back to the gym to work out. It's more of a huge warehouse or large government type building. I see a man. He looks like a caveman. His hair is down to his shoulders and it's sticking out. His face is dirty. I look around the room and it almost looks like a homeless encampment inside this large government oval building. Everyone's faces are dirty and no one says anything. He has a girlfriend with him and he's hovering over her. Maybe they are having some kind of ritual or something. It's just startling. I'm afraid. I have to walk in and face the music in this crazy building. They're all sitting in a circle. They're crowding in through the doors and windows. Nobody says anything. Everything is very strange. They're wearing war paint. Seeing this man was startling. I'm nervous and I just leave. He can see me through the room where I'm living, which is next to this building now. It's like a tar pit of toxic chemicals and it smells bad and the window shades are shredded and broken. Someone else followed up with an association and said, I keep thinking of toxic relationships, toxic environments. Someone else said, how about toxic governments? Then someone says, I'm seeing all sorts of images of zombie movies and people going feral and The Walking Dead. And then someone says, I had a dream about a zombie figure. I had to go to the bathroom and the toilet was weirdly decorated with combs and continued into a hairdressing salon. And to the right of the salon, I looked up through a window and I saw a zombie figure with a leathery head and a mouth like Silence of the Lambs. And then there's a few associations. And another dream, I was a landscape architect. My job was to renovate, and I had to go to the graveyard and restore statues of dead people. I was very scared, and it was distorted faces and zombie-like. I was scared to work on them. When I was done, I had to hug them to complete the work, and it was scary. The heavy stone was transformed, and the statues become light from the hugs, and I could take them with me like balloons. Eerie feeling. And then there was something else about a bomb shelter and a womb. Someone else talked about some German folklore. And then there was a dream about someone going to the Senate, which is the building where this happened. And they were giving a speech and no one was listening. And they were saying some strange words. Where is it? I have it here. It's gynecological. It's gynecological. Why is no one listening to me? This can be a conduit for change. And then we associated some more. So that was on a Sunday. On a Wednesday was the insurrection. And when we came back the following month, these images of people with war paint on, and this was really quite prophetic. So I think that took us back a bit. We had some other dreams right before the George Floyd incident a year ago, May also. It was a time where there was a lot of wildfires in California and the dreams kept showing up, wildfires and these fires. And there was one dream that I remember, I didn't pull it for today, but it just came to mind. And it was someone stuck in a house that was on fire and they kept banging on the window saying, help me, please. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Mama, help me. I can't breathe. And that was just, it gives me shivers to think about it because those are the words that George Floyd spoke when he was being suffocated by the police officer. So it's been a really powerful year for sure. And I've really enjoyed doing this online. Doing it live and in person is a different experience. You asked, I don't know if it was in our preliminary meetings or not, about what happens like in a group, like when I'm doing this live somewhere, international location with a live group, what transpires between the location or the materials that we were listening,
Yes, that's a very interesting experiment you're doing. You are taking people to a specific location and then inviting them to have a social dreaming matrix on that place.
And it really sets the stage for the day,
Mm.
Kalina. A few years ago, we did a trip to Greece, and it was looking at Greek myths and the individuation process through Greek myths in a Jungian perspective. And one of the first plays that we were going to read was the Bacchae, which I don't know if you remember your Greek mythology, but it's really a play a lot about dismemberment. And these were people I had never met, except for my colleague that was co-leading it with me. There were maybe one and two, but they didn't know my personal life either. So I'll never forget it, because the first dream in that social dreaming matrix was about someone's father having a toe amputated. And in real life, my father was having a surgery to also have a toe amputated, which was just a crazy, bizarre. Is it so bizarre, though? I think that this psychic energy is in the collective anyway. But just a strange synchronicity, perhaps coincidence that happened. And alongside reading the Bacchae, which is also about dismemberment.
Mm. Mm. And
But
who chose, I'm really curious, who chose the text for reading? Was it your choice?
In Greece,
yeah.
we actually, my colleague and I decided which plays we were going to do a year before any of this even started. So it was all set because we had a certain individuation theme in mind. So we had it all set ahead of time. So, the groups, people that go on groups with me, they love social dreaming. I've only had one person in 11 years that wasn't comfortable with it. She had just started her own psychoanalysis and really felt very proprietary and protective of her dreams and didn't want to share her dreams. And that's the only one out of probably hundreds of people. It's a really freeing, connected experience. People usually love it. They think about it far ahead of, the week that we do it. I've seen it done at conferences. And also corporations use social dreaming. It's a way of enhancing creativity and talking about underlying unconscious issues in the workplace that people, obviously unconscious, you're not conscious of it, in a way that's non-threatening to them. So a lot of business coaching are using social dreaming in the workplace as well.
Yes, originally the method was developed as a consultancy organizational method for interventions in organizations to help with problems, blocking of creativity and making sense of, the paradoxical and irrational, the hidden complexities, the unconscious of an organization. As we say in psychoanalysis, what, in your opinion, this is something that we are trying to elaborate with the guests as well, and we have different answers. You mentioned primary task. Maybe we need to explain to our viewers, what do we mean? We know in organizational consultancy what primary task is in the group relations, but we need to be clear to the viewers what we mean by primary task, and then what do you think is the primary task of social dreaming?
Well, for me and for the research suggests the primary task is that you relinquish the dreams as your own. It becomes the group's dream, and that you clear your mind and free associate to it. Now, that was a concept that Freud talked about, free association, where you're supposed to be unedited, no filter, and say exactly what you want. Some people are able to do that and some people hold back. But I feel like eventually people start to do that once they get a little bit more comfortable. Freud said, if you remember nothing else about Freud, Freud said that dreams are the royal road to the unconscious. And that he would have people lay down on the couch and free associate to a symbol, an image. And people get a little crazy with me, but it's not so dissimilar to Carl Jung. Carl Jung took it a step further and talked about dreams as being part of the collective. So the primary task is just to connect anything that comes to mind. I showed you in this, there's a couple of other dreams I'm thinking about. There was one dream that I thought was quite interesting. Do you want me to read another dream, Kalina?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
Yes.
This one stands out also, and it kind of relates. It was the day that I presented about Charlotte Barrett and her groundbreaking work that was sort of the discovery or the validation of social dreaming, that dreams can be looked at in terms of what's happening in the larger community or the world at large. And within that, Charlotte Barrett talks about how people would deny that this was happening in Nazi Germany, but their dreams told another story. So this particular dreamer said, I was making muesli for breakfast and I noticed a tiny worm in the edge of the bowl. I continue mixing in yogurt and just flick it away. I'm a bit concerned about it. I eat it anyway and find another little worm at the bottom of the bowl. I feel so sick because I know I must have eaten this worm too. I consider looking up what happens to worms inside the human stomach, and I think about vomiting. Is this thing still alive inside of me? I decide to do nothing. I remember dreams are supposed to compensate the conscious situation, and then I decide that I don't believe in dreams anymore. And this was at the beginning of the pandemic. And it led into a whole series of dreams about nature, believe it or not. And one woman dreamt about shoots of green life growing out of her belly button, her navel. But first she had to dig through this dirty old hair to get to it. And then someone had a dream that was similar to the fairy tale or folklore, Jack and the Beanstalk. And then someone came in with a dream about the Green Man. And it was really fascinating that people really wanted to get back in touch with nature. And then it led to this whole series of dreams about climate change. And completely fascinating. So my idea at the beginning of the pandemic was really to bring people together in a meaningful way, but also to see what are people around the world dreaming? What are some common themes? And we had nature, we had fires, we had zombies, and we had throughout the year a series of dreams about spiders and some Donald Trump dreams. And Trump dreams with spiders, Donald Trump being a spider. So really interesting themes came through.
Yes, the feeling of being trapped in lockdown and trapped, because of the situation. Perhaps I'm just thinking with you, and I'm going to pursue my question with the primary task. You said you were glad to bring people together. That's how I understood you. And some social dreaming practitioners would say, no, that's not the primary task of a social dream matrix. It's to make sense, to make links, to make sense, to unblock creativity, and you are saying yes.
Well, no, I'm agreeing with that. That would be my follow-up, which was why I was reading some of the dreams, so you can see the links, and it's to weave a tale. And we did. We wove a tale of themes, and we wove it within our social and world community. So it's to free associate, it's to bring dreams, it's to make sense, to bring this thread through the dreams and the associations and try and make sense of it. And in some creative way, find a way to wrap your minds around this. In the beginning, I also had sort of a free association artistic project that people could work on during the month. And then we would post those or any thoughts we had on a private Facebook page in between our meetings. But the primary task is to make these connections, to free associate, to present dreams, to relinquish your private ownership over those dreams. So I completely agree with that. I just get carried away in the moment.
Well, I haven't got an opinion. I think it might be both. Perhaps dare I say, but I'm thinking about the free association, and it's something I've been thinking in the last couple of weeks with the conversations with the guests, and wondering, you are using the free associations. I'm just checking. You see, you are using the free associations to kind of show you the links. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Show
yeah,
you
and anything, like sometimes people will think of a movie or a television show or a book. A lot of mythology and fairy tales came out in the dreams. In other words, people like this dream that I read to you about the mucilage and the worm in it that led to something else. Someone started talking about Jack and the Beanstalk, and that led to the Green Man folklore tale in Germany. So free association is not, I mean, you can bring in anything. It reminds me of the time I blah, 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 blah. So there's different ways that people free associate to it. And that leads the discussion to another place. So if you're thinking something, chances are that somebody else in the group is thinking it, or that they're just not voicing it and it's in their unconscious. So it's coming out in some way.
But we also know, because we kind of invite psychoanalysis in our conversation as well, and we know that in psychoanalytic thinking, free association is also used as a defense to hide the truth, so to say, the hidden process, whatever it is. But then again, it seems to me free association is used in a different way in social dreaming. It's not viewed by social dreaming hosts as a defense, as something hiding. It's more like it's directly revealing or showing. I don't know what you are thinking when you are listening to the dreams. Are you thinking, oh, these associations are you trying to make sense using psychoanalytic understanding?
I am trying to make sense of it from a psychoanalytic perspective, and but I don't offer my psychoanalytic words unless it's appropriate to the moment. I had a wonderful supervisor in my training who said to me, about group dynamics and working with groups, let the group do the work. So in other words, the other thing I really like about social dreaming is, you don't have to be an expert to be in this group or to even lead this group. I mean, yes, it helps if you have had experience, and it could be a richer experience, but the idea is that we're all at the same level, the same playing field. You could be a novice at social dreaming and not know anything about psychology, or you could be a psychoanalyst with 30 years experience, but social dreaming puts us on the same space. So at the end of the dreaming matrix portion, then we have the dream reflection dialogue. So it's a way to sort of transition and pivot. At that point, when I'm doing it on my online groups, I have them, if they want, pop back on, the video so we can see each other and have a discussion. And we talk about, so how did it feel? What did you see in the themes and what did you see in the associations? And people are very free to start talking about that. And it's not in the context of your life or my life, Kalina. It's in the context of what just transpired for the last 40 minutes or an hour within this group. And how does that relate to the world around us? So there's no judgment. There's no, oh, well, she must have dreamt that because she had something in her childhood, or it's nothing like that. They say that social dreaming is not psychotherapy, but it is psychotherapeutic, and I am 100% on board with that.
Well, yes, if people feel more connected and helping each other in difficult times, that's therapeutic, definitely. I think Fabio will definitely join you where you said that anyone, I mean, a novice can do it. You don't have to be experienced. I believe that's the experiment he was trying to do last year. And I'm referring to Fabio because we forget to mention to the viewers that we will be taking questions. If anyone would like to ask you. So Fabio, are there any questions, comments, objections, debates?
Yes, more than questions, there's. It's interesting. We talk a lot about free association, and there's been some free association happening in the chat. So I'm gonna read it. I want to thank Alan Tollefson to engage in that, and I'll start from the first. That when you were talking about the invasion of the Capitol and the dream that was prophetic about it, there was like, and then you talk about the Baki, and then Alan says that both the Baki and the January 6th insurrection are a parallel narrative because it's a tension in the political sphere, because the Baki are followers of Dionysus, and the current king is trying to demote Dionysus from the pantheon as a god. So both groups are acting in sort of insurrection.
I love it.
Yeah, and then about spiders.
Must join my social dreaming group. First Sunday of every month.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that at the end. If people want to join, you will remind them how to do that. And another association also from Alan is he associates spider with narrative threads and convoluted stories. So some threads are traps, but some others leads that they are a pathway to escape. So in a way, depending where you're going and how the group works, that's my interpretation.
That's
right here.
Fantastic, Alan. Thank you. And also, I just sparred my memory. There was this whole discussion about the myth of Arachne along with this whole spider thing. And then also, I don't know if you guys or your followers are familiar, there was a series of things about an artist, one of my favorite artists, actually, Louise Bourgeois, whose work is very closely tied to psychoanalysis. In fact, right now at the Jewish Museum in New York, I'm going in a couple of weeks, I can't wait to see it. There's an exhibit of psychoanalysis, Louise as Freud's daughter, who she isn't, or something like that. But Louise Bourgeois created these huge spider statues, and they had them on display at the Freud Museum in the garden for a while. In Bilbao, there's a big spider, and they're at different places throughout the world. So we talked about that, but the thread, I love the idea that Alan said of this, the spiders weaving the thread, which is sort of parallel, like he said, to what happens in social dreaming. We all together weave this web and this thread. Great comments.
Yeah, and that reminds me something that emerged in a recent social dreaming that I participate to, and there was always the debate. We touched a little bit about it in with Kalina's question, and is it social dreaming a way to connect people, or is it social dreaming a way to find new knowledge? And actually, in one of the social dreaming, it emerged that knowledge is connection. And so both being connected, so having people feeling good because they can connect together, and sharing dreams and association and creating new knowledge is part of the same process. In a sort of way, like they used to do in the times where people were sitting in front of a fire sharing stories and dreams. This is kind of, at least to me, reminds a similar practice that we're trying to keep alive.
Absolutely. And it just reminded me that also there was one of the dreams I talked about where the dream said something to the effect of, this is a conduit for change. And then I just came to me also, there was another dream before that was about being at a trash dump, and she found, the dreamer found these connectors like the plug and the socket, but they didn't fit in the pieces. So all of these things, conduit for electricity, really goes along with that, and the connection, but also the threads, because yeah, fantastic comments.
Yes. Thanks, Alan. And if anybody else wants to add any comments, feel free. We are here for that, to respond and to have a dialogue, a conversation. And there's something that also stick to my mind when you were talking, that you're taking basically students to certain places and you do social dreaming. And what's in your experience the relationship between social dreaming and learning? How it affects the learning of your students?
I think it ties it all together. It's a way that the day before and the day ahead sort of has this meeting point, this marriage of each other. And I think it absolutely helps the learning. And it's not just students. Like, I started out doing this for grad students, but now it could be students, but really it's more professionals that are already in the field. I get a lot of psychoanalysts, psychotherapists, people in business. So it's not just for young people that are students. There's old people like me in there too.
I use the word students without any age.
We're all students. We are all students, so aren't we?
For the entire life. What were you saying, Kalina?
Yes. How do you convince business people to join your social dreaming matrices? They are so much target-oriented in strategy and so on and so forth. How do you sell the idea to business people?
Honestly, Kalina, I don't really convince people. People come to me. I mean, yes, I do some marketing. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I have a pretty wide mailing list around the world, but just people might have an interest. Like, people tell me they were researching something about dreams and they found this dream seminar, or they found that I do social dreaming, but then they found that I was doing it in Greece or in Sicily or in Austria or in Spain or, in Asia or wherever. And then they think, oh, this sounds really interesting and amazing. I'm going to do that. I had this one guy who was in his 60s, and he was like the CEO or CFO of some large European corporation. And he started coming with me at least once a year on different trips. And he would report back that it improved his productivity, that being part of this group was part of his learning and staying fresh and coming back refreshed. So yeah, it really enhances learning. Travel, that's a whole nother topic we can talk about. I do a whole thing about why travel is good for the mind, the soul, the body. But it's all related, and it all is part of our dream life and our waking life, and it's all just comes together in this really nice way.
Mm.
So I thank you all. Any other questions, Fabio?
Yeah, actually, there was a question, but you just answered. Alan also was asking what location have you worked in, and you just
Everywhere, you name
immediately
it.
answer. So I feel that there's a great connection happening here. So we were talking about the fact that there's an ongoing group that you do with social dreaming. Would you like to?
You can join anytime. You didn't have to be there from the beginning. It's sort of a fluid, open border, so to speak, that, you can join. You join for a while, and people sort of come and go. We make a commitment, and sometimes life interrupts that. So they can go on my website, which is www.mindbodypassport.com, mindbodypassport.com. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook. It's the first Sunday of the month. So it'll be this Sunday, which is the 6th? Today's the 4th. Yeah, the 6th. Also, if anyone's interested, this idea of sharing stories and dreams out loud is something I'm really into. Starting tomorrow, I only have one space left now. I'm doing something called Freud's Reading Room, Civilization and Its Discontents. And the Freud Museum and I are hosting this. And we're going to each week on Saturdays for 8 weeks, read a different section of Freud's Civilization and Its Discontents, and then have a really nice discussion about it. So any of your viewers want to join that, I have one space left, and that starts tomorrow. And just, get on our mailing list. And we've got a fairy tale course coming, and lots of great stuff coming up, and hopefully let's all, cross our fingers and all that. Hopefully the world will open up soon, and I can come see you, and we can do something on a sailboat with a group.
Yeah, that will be a great idea. And actually, I will make sure I will leave your website on the YouTube video and any other place that refer to the talk we have today. And I have one last question that I don't know if it's the last, but one question that it's concerning the future. And I want to ask you if you're seeing social dreaming taking us somewhere, or where social dreaming is going, and where are we going if we follow social dreaming?
Well, how much time do I have, Fabio?
But that's one of those quick questions.
I'm going to say in a nutshell, I've seen some changes in the dream themes. I'd have to really sit down and look at this year of 2021 as compared to 2020. But I look at it in an alchemical way also. And I know I say that, Freud is my main focus, but Jung also. Several years ago, you couldn't be eclectic. You had to commit to one modality or the other. And now today we're open to do that. So I'm looking at a lot of alchemy and the stages of alchemy within these dreams as well, and how a lot of them started in this first stage, in the muck of it, and you see a lot of dreams about mucky, dirty water. You saw this dream that was like the zombies, but it also had this quality of like a toxic chemical, and there was a tar pits or something. And then you see things starting to get a little different and change. This alchemical changes. I'm seeing a little bit more brightening of the dreams lately. Mm-hmm. That, they do slip back into the dark, but these alchemical phases, I feel like it's an ongoing process, but I'm kind of looking at it in that vein right now. It just sort of came together for me in actually teaching some alchemy webinars as well, which was a great webinar. We have it on demand. A lot of our webinars are on our on-demand section. But I think that the future of social dreaming is good. And I think that the more we are at home and online, it's the more people want this, I can't feel you, but I'm there with you. We can see each other. I think people want this dynamic connection and to connect with people from all over. The internet, people say, is a blessing and a curse, right? But especially now with lockdown and pandemic and all of that, it's really been a blessing for people in that we can be together. And also in that we would never otherwise cross paths without the internet. You're in Tenerife and you're in the UK and I'm in California. That without this medium, how would we have ever known each other? So I think that's great.
Yes, totally. And I know that Kalina is working with virtual worlds and group dynamics. So it's definitely something that's merging together, and social dreaming is there as well. Is one thing that it proved to be a setting that works well online compared to others. And that was my last experience last year of great success, great participation, great enthusiasm. So I think that's in such a difficult time, it was a good thing to experience.
Absolutely. And it did work really well online. Like, you never know going into this, but for me, it was perfect. It was great. In fact, like I said, for me, I felt more focused because I didn't have the distractions of people in the room, and it was really focused for me. So I'm loving it. And so is everyone else that's involved with me. So I'm glad to hear it's the same on your end.
Yes, the online environment offers unprecedented opportunities for being connected. I often wonder, why did we have to wait for the pandemic to start using? We could have started using it earlier. Meetings, conversations, social dreaming, so many opportunities and it makes it really accessible to people. People from remote areas.
Absolutely.
Well, if they have internet.
And for me, it's like I told you, people asked for it. My groups of live people that come on my international trips wanted me to do social dreaming online so we could all continue the dream journey. And it took this pandemic for me to make that happen. So, yeah.
Great. I don't know if Kalina, do you have any final question or comments, or should we close it here?
Well, I think our time is almost up. If we have any final comments from the viewers, perhaps.
Yeah, not here. Alan says thanks. Is interested in joining. You want
Great.
to know the link? I'll make sure he will know the link to your website and how to register. And for us, I think we're gonna meet in 1 week again. Next week, there's gonna be Franca Fubini in same time, same channel. And it was a pleasure to talk to you.
My pleasure. Leslie. Thanks so much. It was really great meeting all of you. And I hope that our journey will continue. And when I say let's do something together live, I mean it. So.
Okay. Yes, let's do something together.
Bye, everyone.
Keep it
Thanks
alive.
for listening.
Thank you very much. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. And thanks to our viewers.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.